Once you've lined up an interview, it's important that you know what type of position you're interviewing for. One of the options might be an internship interview. It's important that you understand the payment guidelines. Is this a paid internship or an unpaid? If it is paid, are you getting a flat stipend or an hourly rate? You'll also want to check with your school about any reporting requirements, credit guidelines, or other options that are important so that you are able to get full academic credit. Make sure you also check if there's a limited duration for the position and look at the company's reputation so you know that you're going to get something that's helpful to you on your resume. Another type of option is an informational interview, and these are one of my favorite. They're difficult to get, but it's important here that you make a clear request. You are asking to find out more about the company, and it's a chance to practice your interview skills. This is a really worthwhile experience. You can talk to companies that you're interested in and see if they are willing to meet with you to discuss what they do and other opportunities. There might not be a position open right now, but down the road when there is, they'll likely think about you. This can often be combined with an externship, the chance for you to shadow or get real-world experience with a company but not receive payment. Another option is a freelance interview, and this is one of the easiest ways to get into a company. Most companies in the creative space hire additional workers on a per-project basis. They'll need temporary workers to help out. Maybe it's for a field position or to help with overflow editing. By interviewing for a freelance position, it's a lot easier to get your foot in the door. But when you go in, make sure you know your rates or the ranges that you're willing to accept. It's also important that you are open to the company setting the payment options. In this case, they're looking for someone who is well organized, and they're going to want to see your certifications and work samples. Knowing that they can trust you and that you have past experience is critical. An additional option is part-time positions. Some companies will offer positions that are not yet full-time. Maybe they're growing and they're looking to add somebody on a regular basis, but not yet with full benefits or other features. Be open to this. This is one of the quickest ways to a full-time job. If you get the foot in the door, they're going to see that you are reliable and capable. These positions may be temporary or seasonal, but be open to these as they are excellent opportunities. And of course, the best option is a full-time position. Usually this is only offered when there's an open position or a vacancy, but sometimes companies will do surveying and they'll do interviews even though they don't have a job open at the time. They want to build up people so that when they need it, they can hire them on quickly. Make sure you ask if this is a new position or if it is replacing somebody who previously left the company. This way you can understand the timeline. If it's a replacement, it's likely a quick hire. If it's for somebody who left the company, they're going to want to fill them in right away. But if it is for something that is for a future position, well, that may take a little while before they're ready to hire. Make sure you ask about the desired start date and be prepared that they're going to offer you a trial period. It's very common that if you get the job, there's going to be a trial period where they see that you know your stuff and it's a good match for everybody. Your resume is critically important to landing job interviews. And I always suggest you know the purpose of your resume. You may in fact have multiple resumes depending upon the type of positions you're applying for. Make sure you use keywords in the resume. This way when they search through them or they are doing a record search, your resume pops up. You're going to want to use effective job titles, things that accurately and quickly describe what experience you have. Be sure you proofread this as well, and instead of using long written explanations, bullet points are important. People are going to want to scan through and quickly see that you have the experience. You also want to put the most important information up front. You don't necessarily need to have a chronological resume. Another thing that's critically important is avoid negativity. We all have had jobs that we weren't crazy about in the past, but stay positive. Show that you got something out of it and what that job meant to you. Also, don't be an expert in everything. You don't want to try to convey that you are amazing at all things because that's pretty much impossible, and people are going to have doubt about your capabilities. Promote achievements instead of responsibilities. Show what you did at the job and what you got done, not just what you were put in charge of. And don't put pictures in your resume. It's also a good idea to make one resume for each job. You can go through and remove any irrelevant information and make sure that you pull off any experience that does not really apply to the job you're going for. Also, make sure you don't lie on your resume or over-embellish. If you do this, people are going to not have confidence in you, and they're likely going to check up. Now, generally speaking, I recommend a 1 or 2 page resume. If you can get it down to 1 page, all the better. More than this, and it just looks like you're being long-winded and really don't have confidence in your position. Update your resume regularly to remove old information. And because you're applying for jobs in the creative field, make sure that it has good design. Pay attention to typography. You want something that is attractive. Even if you're not applying to be a graphic designer, people expect that creative professionals have professional and creative resumes. So spend the time to make it look good or hire somebody to help you out. The cover letter is the introduction to your resume, and it's critical. This needs to be customized for each position that you're applying for. This is a personal introduction from you to the potential company that's going to be evaluating you. One of the things that's really important is be very careful if you copy and paste or use the search and replace command. It's so easy to miss a pronoun or to have a company name left over, and this just shows that you really don't care about the position. With the cover letter, be specific and to the point. Don't just talk in general terms about how great you are. Explain to the company why you want the job that they have open. Express enthusiasm. Show that you've done your homework and that you know about the company that you're applying to. Write the letter as if it were directed to an individual who is reading it. You don't want this to be some generic letter that just gets attached to every single resume. This is the chance for you to explain why you are interested in the position, why you care about the position, and why you want the job interview. Take the time to make it personal and write directly to the person that you're trying to engage. You might not know who's reading it, so you don't need to address it to a specific individual, but write it as if a single person was reading it and that they held your fate in their hands. Before you start applying for jobs, it's critically important that you clean up your social media presence. Employers are going to look. This is one of the most useful places that they can search to find out about you. You're going to want to have a profile. If you hide your profile or make it look like you've never been online, you're going to be asked why. It's pretty rare these days that someone has no presence on social media. So make sure you have a profile at least on one network where they can find out about you. I always say keep it family friendly. Make it the type of things that your parents would be happy to see or even your grandparents. You don't want to have embarrassing things that you have to explain. Now, you do want to show personality, so it's okay to have passions. It's okay to have interest, but try to avoid your flaws. Don't go in and just completely complain about your world or share all the awful things that are going on with your life. That's not to say that social media isn't a great tool for staying in touch with friends, but this is really the modern day resume. It's where they see your personality and what you're interested in, and you're going to want this to have a relative positive spin. Additionally, don't pad it. Don't go through and purposely put in things about your volunteer efforts or go out of your way to make yourself look awesome. Just be a real person. Generally speaking, there are a few social networks that are going to matter the most to the creative industry. If you have a profile, for example, on a site like Behance, or if you work in the photography industry, if you're on websites like Instagram or 500px, people are going to look for you there. If you work in the video industry, they might look for a profile on YouTube or Vimeo where they could see samples of your work. People are going to look to see a bit more about you. Additionally, the interviewer may have their own preference, so if they're really passionate about Instagram, they may spend more time there. I always say don't assume privacy. As you go through your Facebook page or your social media profiles on other networks, look for things that are going to embarrass you, and be sure to delete them or remove them. After all, it's so easy to share something you don't want out there. You don't have to completely sanitize your entire history, but particularly if you're a recent college grad, there's a pretty good chance that there's things out there that you don't want people seeing. After all, one of the easiest things you could do is simply Google yourself. It's what the employer is going to do. What sort of information pops up? And if information pops up that's not about you, but someone with a similar name, be prepared to address that too. After all, you want the people that are looking for you to get a good impression, and this is where they do their homework before they bring you in for the job interview.